Okay, here we are Monday, and we know we have a small class, but we have to keep moving forward. So we're going to move into geometry. But this time with the geometry, we're going to look into not just solving the equation, but rearranging equations to solve for different things. So, for example, we have a distance formula right here. So distance equals speed times time. Okay? But it asks us to solve for t instead of we're solving for d right now. Okay? So currently we have distance equals speed times time. But now we want to solve for t. So we need to move the s over and isolate the t. So we know this s right here is a multiplication. So when we move it over, it's going to become a divide. Okay? So our next part is we're going to move it over. It's going to be distance divided by speed equals time. Right? So all the way through this, we're going to have to work on our inverse operations. Okay? Which is just the same as saying opposite operations. Okay? So let's take a look here. V equals u plus at, and we want to solve for the t. V equals u plus at. So the first thing I want to do is move this over here first. Okay, over here it's a plus. When it comes over, it's going to become a minus. Right, so that's going to equal v minus u equals at. Right. Then we have at here, and we just want the a by itself. I mean the t by itself. So we're going to move this over. And what is it over here? It is a multiply, so it moves over, it's going to become a divide. So my last line is going to be v minus u, which we had before, divided by a equals t. Remember your inverse operation. So we're just, every time it crosses the equal sign, it is the opposite item. Right. So our last one. It's a pretty easy day today, although we're doing 2 lessons today. Our last one here, we have to solve for h. Now if you look here, h is in this big jumble of everything. So it's going to be pretty hard to separate. But let's do one thing first. Let's clear out this bottom here first. And move this 3 over to the other side. And if we take a look here, the 3 is currently a divide. And the inverse of the opposite operation is for when it moves across that equal sign is become a multiply. So let's move it over, and we're going to end up with 3v equals pi r squared h. So now we have to go, okay, we want the h all by itself, so we need to move these 2 things. So what is this right now? What's this really say? Pi r squared h. Well, if you plug that in your calculator, you would say, okay, pi times r squared times h. So that tells me right now they're all multiplied. So if I move them over, they're going to become a divide, right? Multiply on one side, the opposite operation, divide. So my next line, I have 3v over here already. Now this is coming over, becoming a divide, so that's going to equal pi r squared equals h. And there we have it. We've isolated h all by itself. So we have to concentrate on its inverse operations, right? And the other item here is the item you move first. Is the items that are not directly attached to your variable you're looking to solve for. For example, up here, it's u plus at, so we move the u over first. This one here, it was pi r squared times h, divided by 3. So 3 is still attached, but not as closely related as these two, so we move it over. And it just makes little things easier. My last example here is use the formula for example 1 to find how long it would take to travel 520 kilometers if you drive 80 kilometers per hour. Okay, so what was the formula, the original formula? Distance equals speed over time. Distance equals speed times time. Now, if I was doing this question, I would write out everything I know, everything I could know. And then fill in what I have. So I have 520 kilometers, so I can put that right there. I have 80 kilometers an hour, which is my speed. So that really tells me what I need to find. So I'm going to isolate, so I'm going to move this over. It's going to become a divide. Divided by S equals T, and then I can plug in my numbers. 520 divided by 80 equals T. 520 divided by 80 equals 6.5. 6.5. Then, to get my full marks, I could write a little therefore statement. Therefore, it would take 6.5 hours to drive 520 kilometers. Perfect. So, that is half of today's lesson. For the academic students, there's your lesson. And for the applied students, you should already be doing this. And this will actually help you out for Wednesday's quiz. Okay? So let's go to the second part of the lesson today. Now we're going to flip over past the 3-minute review. Oops. Of course, I want to zoom in now. No, skip over the 3-minute review. So, now we've went from just rearranging equations to rearranging equations with a purpose, as in we're going to plug the numbers in, we're going to find out what's happening now. So, the volume of this rectangle, okay, so let's look at the volume formula first. If we look on our notes of our future self, we know volume equals length times width times height. If I were doing this formula, I would go volume equals length equals width equals and height equals. That way we know everything we're looking for. I'm going to put this down here. So let's see what we have. We have 600 meters cubed here. Our length is 12. Our width is 5. And this is what we're looking for. So now I know what I want to isolate. So let's go back to my formula. And we're going to say, okay, how is length and width and height connected? Like what operations are going on here? And we know the operations are multiply. So if we're doing inverse operations, we're going to move it over here. And for a multiply on this side, we're going to turn into a divide on this side. So I'm going to plug it in as volume divided by length width equals height. So that equals, and we plug in our number, 600 over 12 times 5 equals height. And that would equal 600 divided by 60 equals height. 600 divided by 60 is going to be 10. It's going to be meters equals the height. Then we could write a little statement after that. Therefore, the height is 10 meters. A couple things I want to review here. If I were doing it, first thing I would do is write the proper equation that I need. 2 would be list the variables on the side of the page. 3, I would fill in known information. 4 would be rearrange the formula. And 5 would be insert values and solve. So if we look through here, write the proper equation. This would be this step here. Then I list the variables. That would be this step here. Next would be fill in. This is where I would have done it here. Next I would have rearranged the equation, which would have been this step here. And last but not least, let's get a different color. Let's go with a purple. Last but not least, I insert values and solve, which is this step right here. Oh, and I could add a step here for all my non-communicators. It would be 6 would be write a statement. Okay, hear that Jordan from last period? Who else would be one that I could pick on? Let's do a, I don't have an orange riveting video. Me finding an orange. There we go. So, pretty easy steps to go through. So let's do the next one. The cylinder has a height of this. Okay, so let's concentrate on cylinder now. So cylinder, the volume of a cylinder equals pi, I'm just going to write that as 3.14, r squared. I hate the square on this thing. Pi r squared times h. So let's list off everything we know. All my variables. Volume equals radius equals and height equals. So volume equals 800. The radius we don't know, and the height is 20. So now we're on the rearranging. So if we take a look here, we go back here, we take a look and say, okay, how are these all connected? I'm like, okay, it's pi times r squared times h. So that means they're multiply on this side. They're a multiply. So I'm going to move them over, both these over here, and when they come over, they'll become a divide. So if I was to write this out nicely, pi times h equals r squared. I'm going to leave the squared up there for now. Okay. You could hypothetically go, okay, this truthfully should be square root, but I'm not going to do that yet. So I'm going to take a long time to undo all this. So let's plug in my numbers. So I have 800 divided by pi h. Oops. H is 20. So don't do 800 divided by pi times 20 because that's going to give you the wrong number. What I would suggest is do the bottom first, right at your next step, and do pi times 20 first. So pi times 20 equals 62.8. So let's say 63 for argument's sake. Now, if you want to do that all in one step, type in 800 divided by bracket pi times 20, close bracket. Okay? But if you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. You get the same answer pretty much. 800 divided by 63 equals, that's a square. I almost forgot that. Equals 12.7. 12.7 equals r squared. But it asks us for radius, not radius squared. So how do you get rid of a radius? You take the square root. And that's how you get rid of that's how you get rid of a square. You take the square root of it. So the square root of 12.7 equals 3.6. And that is in centimeters. And I can write my statement. Therefore, the radius is 3.6 centimeters. Perfect. And we're done. Big thing, rearrange the equation properly. Last example. And I'll let you guys pause it right now to see if you can get this one here. But I'll give you the formula first. The volume of a pyramid, a square base pyramid, some people say base squared times height. Where's the squared? Base squared times height. Now, it's a pyramid, so we're going to divide that by 3. We have to do all this together, so I'm going to put brackets around that. Okay, if you want to write this still as length times width times height divided by 3, that is just as right. So don't think it's any different. Okay, so pause it right now, and I'll let you guys work on this for a couple minutes, and we'll come back to it. Okay, so we're back from pause. I was just checking the Raptors game there, so hopefully they're up currently 46-41, so hopefully that continues. So, I'll walk through the answer and see if you got it as I did. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to list everything. Volume equals, I like length times width personally. Width equals and height equals, I'll even put base in here just to satisfy everyone. So it says the volume is 2000. My length is 20, my width is 20. Oops, how'd you get there? 20. My height is my question mark, and my base, if I'm using base, I'll put 20 in there as well. So now I have to go rearrange my equation. So I'll work through both of these just because they're going to look exactly the same. Right now, these are connected. Well, first of all, I'm going to move this 3 over first. This divide by 3. So it's a divide on this side. So I move it over, it's going to become a multiply. Right? If I write this formula out this way, b squared h over 3 makes it look a little more obvious than my writing there. So I'm moving this over. So and then I'm going to have 3v equals b squared h. If you do it this way, it's going to look like 3v equals length, width, height. Now, these are connected through multiply. So it's a multiply on this side, it's going to become a divide on this side. Just as these two are multiplication, so I move it over, it's going to become a divide. Okay, so my next one's going to be 3v over b squared equals h. Over here it would look like this. Length times width equals h. Then my math is going to look pretty much the same. So this would be 3 times, let's rewind here because you guys are going to get super messy writing. So 3 times 20,000, or say 2,000, divided by, I'm going to put a bracket around, 20 squared. Equals. I wonder if I'll do the math for him. Nope, of course not. So, but that equals h. If I go down here, I'm going to do 6,000 divided by 20 times 20, I'm pretty sure it's 400, but in order to not get Evie laughing at me, 400 equals h. So I'm going to go 6,000 divided by 400. That should equal like 15. So 15 equals h. And this here is pretty much going to look the same over here. But the only thing different is going to be 3 times 2,000 divided by, and this here we're going to write 20 times 20, which is the exact same as saying 20 squared. Right? And boom, we're done. Therefore, here's my therefore statement. Therefore, the height is 15, and we're looking at what? Millimeters. Perfect. Now your homework for, I know I'm doubling up homework, people, but it's good for you. So our homework, if you are in the academic group, your homework is this next page here. And this homework is due on Thursday morning. Since you have a partner quiz tomorrow and your test/quiz on Wednesday, this will be checked. I repeat, checked on Thursday. And there's your academic work. Okay, so have a great day, and I will see you a week from Wednesday, I believe. Okay, thanks. Have a great day.